Hello and welcome to the Black Rose Garden. Act 1 is hard. Now you combine that with the deadliest mods ever for the campaign in the upcoming Gauntlet that's starting tomorrow, and Act 1 becomes very, very deadly. How deadly, you might ask? Well, I made a private practice league with modifiers that are as similar to the actual Gauntlet mods as possible, and here are just some clips of me on day one. I literally could not get even to Brutus. I died mostly in the coast and mud flats, and it was really sad. I went to bed sad, and the next morning I was like, okay, I'm going to need to look at every single gem and figure out every defensive option I could take in order to not die. So I want to share with you guys the things that I did in order to make Act 1 as safe and doable as possible. So for tip number 1, it is to make a lot of mules. If you don't know what mule is, it is a character that you progress a little bit. In this case, all you do is kill Hillock and then you go to town in order to give additional resources to your actual character. You'll want to make at least 2 to 3, depending on how many wisdom scrolls you get, since each new character gets 3 wisdom scrolls, and each mule character also gets a brand new vendor window that you can shop for items that you need. So why do you need so many wisdom scrolls before you go to coast? Well, the coast is very deadly. With 30% increased movement speed, you're not going to be able to run past everything the way that you can in the normal game. So you're going to need a lot of wisdom scrolls in order to buy 2 coral rings and a crystal belt. And you also want to look in the vendor shops for good links and definitely a shield. Each coral ring is 3 wisdom scrolls, which is why you need at least 2 or 3 mules. You can literally equip a full set of gear before you walk into the coast if you want to be as safe as possible. And for tip number 2, it is to buy Ray Zombie also before you even enter the coast. In order to get Ray Zombie before entering the coast, you can either be playing Witch, in which case you can just buy it from the vendor, or you can just mule a Witch by killing Hillock, and then you can pick up a Ray Zombie from the quest reward for killing Hillock. I haven't seen anyone else suggesting using Ray Zombie, but it's super, super good. The zombies can block the Roa charges and mud flats, and they can block a lot of projectiles because they don't have piercing. Even though it is a bit annoying to have to keep resummoning them, I think their ability to block things for you and even take aggro from some monsters is invaluable. For tip number 3, after you finish mud flats and you go into the submerged passive, you want to portal back to town and then buy steel skin. You can buy this on every single class. And then what I recommend doing is binding steel skin to your left click, so that as you're walking around, you'll just automatically press steel skin. Alternatively, you can have it set to another key and then manually time your activation of steel skin. But I find that to be too tedious, even though technically it's better. In addition to steel skin, there are some other gems that you can consider buying. They're not as mandatory as steel skin, but pretty good. If you're playing Witch or Templar, you can buy Summon Holy Relic. This will give you some life regen along with life regen to your minions, which is good for keeping your Ray Zombies alive. If you are playing Ranger, Duelist, Marauder, Templar, or Scion, you can also buy Decoy Totem after Mud Flats. And this is an insane defensive tool to draw the aggro of monsters away from you. If you are playing Witch, Marauder, or Templar, you can buy Holy Flame Totem, which is a lot of damage. But remember that you can only have 1 totem active at a time. And then for tip number 4, you want to look to buy a leather belt as soon as possible from the vendor. I believe it's at level 8. And you also want to constantly upgrade your life and mana flasks. For tip number 5, you want to get as much cold resistance as possible before your fight with Merveil. And you can do that with sapphire rings that you can buy from the vendor. You can, if you have extra transmutes, you can craft cold resistance on your gear starting at level 12. Tip number 7 is to have a logout macro. Now, I know most people probably already have a logout macro. Like, if you're playing hardcore and you don't have a logout macro, you're kind of trolling because it's that important. What I use is, I actually don't know what other people use, but what I use is just Awaken PoE Trade, which I already use for price checking, and I have it set to a hotkey. No, it's just a chat hotkey that types press exit /exit and enter upon pressing back quote, which is like the tilde key next to your one, and it's been working for me. But you definitely need one. And then tip number 7 is just to know the boss mechanics. There are plenty of good videos talking about the Brutus and Merveil fights, but if you don't know the attacks, you're probably gonna die to them. And finally, for tip number 7, I wanted to go through some of the dangerous things throughout the zones in Act 1. So obviously in the coast, everything will freaking kill you. You're just gonna have to go slow. Mudflats has the infamous charging Roas. You also have to just go really slow. Submerged Passage can freeze you. So if you do get frozen, just make sure to use your logout macro. The ledge is usually okay. You just have to be careful not to get swarmed. The climb is very dangerous actually, with goatmen that will jump on you and do a lot of damage, and skeleton archers with the multiple projectiles. There are 2 bosses, the skeleton archer boss and then the goatman boss that falls out of the sky. I recommend just skipping both of them, like running past them. The prison is usually okay. Just remember when you're doing the ascendancy trial to click on the tablet at the end as fast as possible and then go to the portal so you avoid the rare skeleton archer, because that can be deadly. And then it's Brutus. After that, the only other one is in the Cavern of Anger. There's the red, I don't even know what they're called, like the red sea creatures that will just suicide explode, and if you tank them you will die. And that's all. Thank you for watching, and good luck on your Gauntlet run.